If you've ever found yourself scrolling through online listings late at night, dreaming of that perfect chunk of automotive nostalgia, maybe a chrome-laden muscle car with a booming V8 or a nimble European roadster, then this deep dive is absolutely for you. We're tackling the ultimate barrier to entry, the cost. Can you actually find a truly affordable classic car in today's market? And then, once you get that bargain, what's the brutal, often frustrating reality of owning one? We spent a lot of time digging through guides on budget muscle, foreign classics, and all the latest market trend analyses.
Our mission today is, well, it's twofold. First, we're putting together a consolidated top 10 cheapest classics list. We're using the lowest running driver quality entry points we could find across all the sources. This is basically your shortcut to the classics you can actually afford right now.
And the second part.
The second part is answering that essential question you have to ask before you take the plunge. Should you even buy a classic car? We've combined market insights from places like Hagerty with the cold, hard maintenance numbers from government data to give you the full picture.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we have to start with the market itself because it feels like it's shifting right under our feet in some really fascinating ways.
It really is. We're seeing this massive generational change happening in the classic car world, and that's completely redefining what classic even means.
Right.
Gen Z and millennials, they now account for over 40% of classic car buyers. And what's so interesting is that their preference isn't necessarily for the traditional 50s or 60s icons.
Yeah.
They're shifting heavily toward cars from the 80s through the 2000s.
It's nostalgia for their own youth.
Exactly. That plus the simple realities of affordability and, frankly, usability. They want a classic they can actually drive on a regular basis.
And this preference, it has some pretty profound consequences for the traditional heavyweights, doesn't it? We saw data that said the value of those blue-chip pre-70s muscle cars, something like the beloved 65 Mustang GT, has actually dropped.
Yeah, it's declined by about 12% in real terms. That older demographic just isn't competing for them as fiercely anymore. And at the same time, these modern classics are appreciating like crazy.
So what's driving that?
Well, there are two major drivers fueling this. The first one is regulatory, and it's a big one. The 25-year import rule in the U.S., starting in 2026, cars from the 2001 model year become legal to import.
And that clock is ticking down, which creates this huge speculative demand. I mean, everyone is watching what happens to the prices of icons like the Honda S2000, right?
No.
The cars young enthusiasts grew up dreaming of.
Precisely. They're finally becoming attainable and legal in a big way. The other factor is cultural resonance. Cars that are deeply tied to pop culture are gaining this cult status no matter how old they are.
The DeLorean.
The DeLorean is the prime example. Thanks almost entirely to its movie legacy, it's appreciated a staggering 73% since just 2019. It proves that a classic isn't just a golden era muscle car anymore. It's anything that sparks that powerful nostalgia.
This interest in older cars, it ties into a bigger trend in America, too.
Yeah.
We looked at some Bureau of Labor Statistics data, and it confirms we're all keeping our daily drivers longer than ever.
Absolutely. The average age of U.S. household vehicles climbed pretty significantly between 2007 and 2012, and the share of cars that were 11 to 20 years old grew by a full 25% in that time.
So we're all getting more used to dealing with aging cars.
Which gives us a good baseline for what classic car expenses might look like.
Okay, so let's talk about that cost reality. Because that $5,000 project car could easily turn into a $50,000 headache. The BLS data we have is from 2012, which sounds a bit dated, but what's the principle it teaches us?
That's the crucial thing to focus on. Forget the specific dollar amounts, the differential they show. The fact that older cars cost disproportionately more to maintain, that's the timeless principle. Back in 2012, the average annual maintenance and repair cost was about $537 per vehicle.
And here's where it gets interesting, the age difference.
Right. So households with cars that were 6 to 15 years old paid about $150 more annually than those with cars under 5 years old. It's not double the cost, but it's almost 40% higher every year just for basic upkeep. And that's before you even get to a true classic.
Because that's where the cost really explodes.
It does. The key insight for vehicles over 26 years old is that spending on parts and accessories increases the most. The sources specifically say that major costs for motor repair and replacement are heavily influenced by classic car owners. You're not just committing to oil changes, you're committing to potentially expensive specialist parts and major engine work.
Okay, we have been sufficiently warned. Let's get to the fun part, the treasure hunt. We've synthesized our top 10 list based on the lowest running driver quality entry points we could find.
And remember, these are entry-level prices for cars that actually work. They're not show winners. This is just the ticket to get into the game.
All right. Kicking off our countdown at number 10, we have the Chevy Monte Carlo, but specifically the 1973 and later models.
Yeah, the first-gen models from 70 to 72 are serious collector's items now. You're looking at $18,000 to $35,000. But the later models, post-73, their value drops off a cliff. We found running projects for as low as $6,000. It's a great way to get that muscle car size and feel without breaking the bank.
Moving to number 9, the Buick Skylark from 68 to 72.
The Skylark is absolutely the value play in the GM A-body platform. Its siblings, the Chevelle GTO 442, they're often priced way out of budget territory. But the Skylark, it blends that old-school luxury with available V8 muscle. We found running examples for as low as $5,000.
At number 8, the big, dependable Chevy Impala, or really any GM B-body from the late 60s and early 70s.
The supply here is just enormous. They made so many of them that you can still find a driver quality Impala that just needs a little TLC starting around $5,000. And don't sleep on the wagons either. They're usually even cheaper and way more practical.
Love a good wagon. Number 7 brings us the Chevy Nova sedan, a classic choice for someone who wants the muscle car vibe without that coupe price tag.
An excellent choice for budget performance. The two-door coupes, they can soar towards $19,000 for a base 72 model, but the four-door sedans are dramatically cheaper. We found a running and driving 1970 sedan for less than $5,000. You still get the V8 rumble, but you can bring the whole family.
At number 6, we hit a real style icon, that striking boat tail design of the Buick Riviera from 71 to 73.
People call it the sexiest choice on a tight budget. I mean, that huge, rakish design, it looks like a $250,000 car. If you're okay with doing some work, we saw a 71 model with transmission problems priced as low as $3,900.
But there's a catch there, right?
Oh, yeah. The cost of boat tail specific glass or trim is probably where they get you back for that cheap entry price.
Now we're crossing the pond. For the rest of our top 5, we're pulling from sources focused on the UK market, where entry prices for smaller, often rust-prone European classics are incredibly low.
Right, so you'll have to factor in shipping and importation if you're in the US, but these prices show a truly low barrier to entry. Starting that international list at number 5, the quirky Hillman Minx.
I love that these have a cool American aesthetic, partly because of Raymond Loewy, the guy who designed the Coke bottle.
Exactly. They handle pretty well for their era, and you can find desirable variants like the Sunbeam Rapier. We saw a usable one priced around £2,600.
At number 4, the unique Swedish engineering of the Saab 900 or 99.
The classic 900 is just legendary for its safety and clever engineering. We saw a shabby convertible that needed some work priced at around £2,000, and they are famous for reliability. It's not uncommon to see odometers with 300,000 miles on them.
Our bronze medalist at number 3, another great British option. The Triumph Herald.
The Herald just perfectly embodies that swinging 60s style. And critically, for a first-time owner, its separate chassis and modular body make it relatively easy to work on. You can find road-legal drivers for less than £2,500, and you can swap in parts from the Spitfire for easy performance upgrades.
Number 2 is the modern classic roadster, the Mazda MX-5 MK2. The NB generation.
This is the answer if you want that 60s open-top roadster experience, but, without the 60s reliability headaches. It's simple, fun, easy to live with. Running projects can be had for less than £2,000, but, and it's a big but, it shares a major flaw with its British ancestors. Rust. You have to check the sills and floor.
And finally, taking the top spot, the cheapest true classic entry on our list, number 1, the Austin 11100-1300.
These are basically an upscaled version of the original Mini concept. They handle well, they're comfortable, and you can find road-legal, usable examples for as little as £1,500. They're incredibly cheap to buy.
But the drawback must be huge.
It is. Rampant rust, especially around critical structural areas like the subframe mounts. You have to be so careful.
Okay, before we move on, what about those honorable mentions?
Yeah.
For people with a slightly bigger budget, say $15,000, who want pure performance.
Right. If you move into that price bracket, the late C3 or early C4 Corvettes offer some of the best performance per dollar out there. Also, look for the third-gen Trans Am GTA Strong V8, comfortable cruiser. And you can't ignore the G-Body Monte Carlo SS or the Cutlass. Dependable small block, massive aftermarket support.
Okay, this is where it gets really important. We have to shift from the dream of buying to the reality of owning and turning a wrench. First, finding these bargains.
The sources are very clear on this. If you're hunting for a genuine bargain, stay away from auction websites. You'll just get outbid. The sweet spot is the private market Facebook Marketplace, local classifieds.
And once you find that car, that sub $10,000 dream, inspection is everything. You have to assume it's hiding something, right? Some kind of bodge, as they call it.
That is the critical step. A professional inspection is always best, but there are some essential old-school checks you can do yourself. First, rust. It's the primary killer. Always carry a magnet if you run it along the wheel arches and it just slides off.
Body filler.
Thick body filler covering up a massive rust hole. Also, check panel alignment and look for overspray on the chrome or window seals. That screams cheap, quick paint job.
And what about under the hood? What are the practical tips for a non-mechanic?
You're always looking for leaks, obviously, and checking the cooling system is key. Here's that fantastic tip from the sources. Bring a cheap turkey baster or a large syringe with you. On a lot of old cars, you can't see the coolant, so you use the baster to draw a sample out of the radiator.
What are you looking for?
If it looks like clear water or, worse, rusty sludge, you're buying a corrosion nightmare. A muddy tinge just means a change is due soon. But clear water or sludge, run away.
Let's talk about restoration for a beginner. So many people jump straight into that non-running project car, and the experts warn very strongly against that.
The advice is definitive on this. Do not start with a non-running restoration unless you are already a master mechanic with a full shop. It is the fastest way to get frustrated, drain your bank account, and have a car that just sits on blocks forever. Buy a running driving car first. Learn maintenance and minor repairs on that.
My favorite bit of wrenching advice was about choosing the right platform to maximize your chances of success.
That's the most important long-term decision you can make. Pick a model that was made for several years and sold in huge numbers. The sources mention the 1969 Camaro specifically because you can literally buy every single piece to build one from the ground up from a catalog. That aftermarket support makes a $5,000 basket case feel a lot less scary than some rare European car where one piece of trim could cost thousands.
But there's a big financial warning here too. Restoration isn't always profitable.
You have to remember the numbers. Don't go investing $30,000 and 1,000 hours of your life into a car that's only going to be worth $8,000 when you're done. Choose a car that supports your investment, or really don't view it as an investment at all.
Which brings us to our final essential question. We've covered the market, the costs, the top bargains. So what does this all mean? Should you buy a classic car?
The short answer is, don't buy it expecting to get rich. The sources are pretty clear that a classic car is not a passport to riches. Buying one as a guaranteed investment is far from certain, especially when you factor in all those unpredictable costs we just talked about.
So if it's not for the financial return, why do it? Why do people dive in?
You should buy one because you want to own it and run it. The true value is what one writer called the smiles per gallon. It's about personal fulfillment, connecting to history, and just the pure passion of driving.
And the experience itself is a huge non-financial reward. We read about the classic car culture. It's described as having some of the most friendly, knowledgeable people you'll ever meet. It's a gift to be part of that scene, building relationships and enjoying the journey. As one enthusiast put it, you gotta drive them.
Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. If you plan to drive a pre-90s classic regularly, even as a daily driver, you have to weigh the absolute joy of that visceral driving experience against the safety reality. These older cars, they just fundamentally lack the active and passive safety systems, ABS, crumple zones, airbags that we take completely for granted now. And that is the one critical trade-off you must be prepared to accept.